Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we're checking out episodes 13 and 14 of Vinland Saga. So I got a little bit excited the last couple of episodes because we ended up in Wales, which is one of my favorite places when I was taking my Celtic Studies classes. I loved learning Welsh and going through all of the mythology and stuff like that. I'm just a little bit excited personally that they're in Wales, but I also like that we're getting into this more neutral ground where it's kind of a third party between all of the craziness that has been going on that Askladd and the rest of them have gotten into now that they have this prince with them and have decided to see who is willing to pay the most for him. And of course we have Thorfinn, who is in charge of looking after him, which he seems thrilled at the idea of, but we'll see how the two of them interact. I wonder what that'll be like, if it'll spark into some kind of acquaintanceship. I don't want to say friendship because I don't know if that's something that'll come out of this, but maybe some kind of understanding between them, especially since Thorfinn doesn't have anyone his own age around. Like, he grew up around all of these adults. There aren't other children or teenagers around him for him to interact with, so seeing someone who's a little bit closer to his age range may cause him to interact a little bit differently with him, but we'll have to wait and see. I know that Thorfinn is a bit of a hard nut to crack, so I don't know if this prince, who seems a little bit timid, will be able to be understood by him. But we left off with them getting ambushed in this pass where they had arrows pointed at them and everything, very reminiscent of Thor's death when they were on the boat. So I'm sure that Thorfinn is dealing with that in his own way, but we'll have to see how they end up getting out of that circumstance themselves. So let's just hop in to episode 13. In 3, 2, 1, go. Who are we with? Is it... Oh, this is not the scene we left off on. Who is this? Ooh. Ooh, do we have a different opening? I was not prepared. I guess we are like halfway through, aren't we? Trying not to be distracted. I'm like, okay. Is it Askladd? But younger? Are we getting backstory? See, because it's showing Askladd and then clips of him, which is like associating the two. Uh-oh. That seems ominous, like there might be a death of some kind. Ooh, the apple though. Very, um, Adam and Eve. Oh dear, who are you? You seem violent. I like the imagery of like Thorfinn like trying to catch up to them. Like these two people who have power and then him like injured trying to catch up. Uh-huh. Well, it's complicated. Yeah, like Thorkel decided he wasn't having enough fun, so things happened. Is he your dear son? You don't seem all that worked up. That he's just missing after a battle. I do like that we get lots of images of like the crown, but the king's face is shadowed. Like the crown and like what that symbolizes is more important than like the man that's sitting on the throne. Are we not going back to the flashback? I want closure on that one. I'm also curious why Askladd speaks Welsh. Is it because he washed up on a shore trying to save his mom? If that was him? The rest of them are just like, are they saying nice things or not? True. They didn't aim for one of you. I still feel bad for the horse, though. It does seem like it's a negotiation, though. They could have just attacked, but instead they're talking. Well, that doesn't look good. I don't know if he does. I think it's the symbolism of it. You know? It's like he needs an heir, and the fact that someone is taking his heir is like a violation of his power. Oh dear. Poor darling. He's probably never been in this kind of situation before. He seems very sheltered. Say something spirited. No pressure. Something threatening from that face. Oh. Not very heroic, huh? Doesn't exactly strike fear in the enemy. Little stage fright. Yeah, he's gonna have to step up at some point. Even if it's not something that he wants to do as part of being prince. He's gonna have to learn how to speak and negotiate with people. Otherwise, they'll just take advantage of him. Ooh. True though, if you had like a bunch of siblings, there's lots of stories in history of royal siblings killing each other off to success so that they succeed to the throne. let alone other people that are trying to negotiate into the royal line. Aw, he was trying to find another way. I was just like, oh, okay. Enthusiasm. It was big of him to like apologize immediately, though. Could have been upset about it. Instead, just apologized and moved on. Now, Thorfinn. You've just been through different circumstances. I'm sure you're going to find some similarities. You've both had to survive in any way you could find. I agree that Ragnar needs to like step back though, because the prince does need to figure out how to be authoritative and be like a symbol of that authority. Because, like I said, otherwise people are going to take advantage of that, as is happening now, of them negotiating around him because he isn't stepping into that role and taking control over that power that he holds. I like how like they do want to negotiate, but it's all about like the image of it. Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if Wales will want to get involved. That was my thing too. He's obviously spent a lot of time with the Welsh, or at least a Welsh person. Are we gonna get backstory? Because I would like backstory. He just thought that they were like friends, and then being like this huge part of him that he's never shared. I'm sure that you know, breaks the trust that they probably have. We didn't get to hear? No fair. Who's Lydia? Oh. Is he Welsh? Oh. So he's important. Interesting. Yes, fill me in. Sure, sure. Cool. War hero. Gotcha. Legends. That's pretty cool. Oh, King Arthur. Wow. That's quite an inheritance. I bet he does. True. He's a connection between the two. Seems like he's maneuvering a lot, though. So we're not just like using the prince as a pawn. There's a whole lot of other maneuvering going on. Or at least that's how he's framing it to get help from the Welsh. Oh, I think he'll definitely try it. If it's a crazy plan that will make Askladd go down in history, I think he'll try it. I remember the conversation he had with Thorfinn about him thinking, like, I'm not going to live for much longer. I want to do something extraordinary. You do? I mean, I guess his dad seemed like a piece of work. So if he loved his mother, then it makes sense that he would feel that way. They like him. True. Except for Thorfinn. Thorfinn doesn't trust him. True. He certainly doesn't seem to be part of the group. the morbid curiosity of it, though. Yeah, maybe don't pick a fight with them. Thorfinn unfazed. It's not the craziest thing he's probably been around, unfortunately. He speaks. True. I think everyone's shocked. You got a lot of attention on you now. You gotta eventually break away from your father, though. Yeah, Thorfinn doesn't care. He's like, now you're talking too much. He's definitely come out of his shell, though. It's true, though, because, like, Knut saying, like, my words have political repercussions, but, like, they don't to Thorfinn. Like, Thorfinn isn't going to try to negotiate political gain. He has no interest in any of that. He just wants to win against a fight with Askladd and avenge his father, and that's all he's got going for him. So, like, anything that Knut can say to him does not matter. So I'm sure if anyone would be someone that, like, Knut could just talk to, it would be him. Unfortunately, Thorfinn isn't the most nice person. He isn't very hospitable. Yeah, definitely don't go into the mountains. He's got some negotiating power, though, with the whole Welsh thing. But there's probably that little seed of doubt now, you know? He's like, Askladd isn't telling me everything, which I feel like may escalate into something. Because he isn't. He's keeping things from them. Oh, so many layers. I wasn't expecting Askladd to be so involved in, like, the political stuff that's going on, especially, like, having a history. Like, obviously I wasn't expecting him to have some kind of direct connection to, like, a war hero that seems to have some kind of claim to the throne of Denmark, perhaps? It seems like he would be allowed to at least say that crown should be mine, which is interesting because in the new opener, he does have the crown next to him at one point. I think there's also a snake, and we saw like the Garden of Eden imagery with the apple. I was saying like Adam and Eve, and the serpent is like invading this paradise, right? So I find it interesting that we have the serpent relating to Askladd and the imagery there of him kind of invading this place that is supposed to be sacred and kind of like going in there and tempting those that are there, which I think probably is sort of seems to be what Askladd's plan is. He seems to be interested in navigating his way closer to the King of Denmark and negotiating that in some way, specifically using Canute as like a maneuvering piece for that. I wasn't expecting him to be that interested in something political or like power related. And it seems to somewhat be like a vengeance thing in the same way that like Thorfinn is interested in fighting with Askladd, not because he wants to get control of this group of swords for hire, but just because he wants revenge for his father. And it seems that Askladd wants revenge on behalf of his mother, who seems to have not been treated very well by the Danes. So lots of different layers to who Askladd is. I would love to get an episode that was like a full flashback where I got to kind of see what his life was like, especially since we got a little bit of a hint of what Canute's life was like, and I would really like to see kind of the contrast between those two, or even the similarities of like what growing up in court is like, especially in Denmark. And it does really put in perspective why Askladd is so drawn to Canute, like partly because he's like, this is someone who seems more pure and seems to be someone who isn't corrupted by the power that they're set to inherit, but I think also because Askladd like sees some of his own experience perhaps in him. And I think that's the same thing with Thorfinn. Like he already had a soft spot for Thorfinn because of Thor's and like his respect for him, but I think also he can see himself in Thorfinn because of this whole like revenge, like needing to find vengeance for a parent that was mistreated by someone else. So there's like just tons more layers to Askladd. We got little hints of that when he had his conversation with Thorfinn about him saying like, one day I am going to lose in our fights, like you are going to beat me, I am going to lose the power that I have, and I'm going to just, you know, die and fade out of memory. And he seems to not want that, and that makes me think that's probably why he's making moves now, is he's seeing one, an opportunity, but two, he's also seeing like, I'm not in my prime anymore, like I'm not going to stay in my prime for much longer, inevitable decline, and he wants to do something with the skills that he has and the resources that he has while he still has them. So just like a lot of really interesting things with Askladd in this part of the story, and I like that he isn't just a villain for Thorfinn to like be angry at. There's like lots and lots of layers to who he is as a character, and I don't want to empathize with him because he is like a bad person, but like Thorfinn also isn't a great person, so everyone are various shades of gray when it comes to like morality and stuff in this series. So I think I'm less of like a, oh, I like this character or I like this character, and more of like, I am intrigued by this character, and I'm definitely intrigued by Askladd after learning all that. And of course getting to see Thorfinn and Canute like interacting, and Canute like coming out of his shell a lot more as he gets angry at Thorfinn, but seeing their interactions and the way that they are actually able to play off of each other's nature was also really cool. But let's just get into episode 14. 3, 2, 1, go. The snow's gonna be something to deal with. That's like never fun. Didn't they usually go to like the town, right? Ooh, uh, that seems a little bit ominous. Seems more like execution. Oh no, her hands. A worker, I guess? Are you trying to sneak away? Didn't she have like a ring? Did she hide it? We keep like introducing little moments in the beginning. So, Anne, I think her name was. Is she important? I like that there's a map in this new opening. I just appreciate a good map so that I don't get completely lost about what's going on. Not that I'm calling out The Witcher, but I've tried to watch The Witcher and I only got a couple of episodes in. Ah, see the crown. Um, but I only got a couple of episodes in before I was like, I have no idea where anyone is or why it should matter. Because I had no map to tell me how we were traveling through things. Every good series should have a map. But I also own a giant map of Middle Earth. Just keep on my wall. So I am just a nerd for a good map. I want to know who the guy is that's slamming someone headfirst into a tree, a log. I want to know who he is because he seems like someone we want to avoid. It's interesting now too to have that image of Askladd and Knut walking too because it's like two people trying to get the throne who are walking like ahead of Thorfinn and he's just like beaten up and trying to keep up with them. I also love a good mosaic. Oh, so it was the priest remembering back before he ended up with these Danes. I mean, you also do pick fights with each other when you get bored, so I don't know. See, I don't know if I believe that. Very shadowed face when he said that. Mm-hmm. I think they would turn on each other for the right price. Just saying. They're trying to seem more noble, though. How do you know he's never been on a battlefield? It's a good question. Yeah, I'm like, is it love if it's conditional? You know what I mean? Thorns? Ooh, that turning shot, though. Oh, he probably did. I don't think they would have been able to go up against Thor's if it weren't for Thorfinn being there. Oh dear. That's an intense look. Uh, he protected his son? Do we know him? Is that why the intense look? Or is it just the quest to figure out what love is? Because you're gonna be disappointed when you meet Thorfinn. He's a little intense right now. I hope he improves, though. I think Thorfinn has a lot of potential. Look how done Thorfinn looks. That's me with snow, too. When it's like this. I like pretty snow. I mean, it usually snows a lot at the beginning of summer because it's still warm enough for it to be snowy. And then it snows a lot at the end because it's getting warmer. They're still gonna complain about it, probably, though. Uh-oh. It's very interesting to have these two back to back because it does feel like they're very different in that Ragnar is like very focused on like thinking his way through problems and he like tries to logic his way through, and then you have Askladd who's like very strategic but also impulsive. He kind of goes with what pushes him, which sometimes means attacking a village. They all have really rough hands though. They must be workers, especially in the winter too. You get like chapped hands in the winter. It seems like a really nice family, and I feel like they're about to be horrifically attacked. Well, you don't need to scare the child. Ugh, that's terrifying. I need that in my head. Well, I feel like they're about to prove that they're evil men when they attack this village. I feel like we're setting up a nice family, and nice families don't last very long in this show. Yes, what did you hide? Yeah, I'm like, I feel like it's a ring, right? I don't know what that means. Did she take it? Find it? Ah, seems like she stole it. You really shouldn't steal. Someone put in a lot of work to get that. The contrast with her hands, though. Like the really weathered hands, and then like this really pristine looking piece of like ornate jewelry, right? Like it doesn't have a practical use, whereas like her hands are very like worked, right? Well, just throwing it away isn't gonna do anything either. Uh-oh. I saw this coming. Of they're gonna get attacked, and it hurts my heart more because they're kids. I just, I'm just gonna get my Totoro. Oh, the priest. I feel like because he said like, a true warrior doesn't need a sword. It's like he doesn't need to be a fighter to be a warrior, and he's like starting to, warning them as part of him like taking that role a little bit more. Well, that's just wasteful. This is not gonna go well. So that's how they're getting more supplies, huh? I believe that. I believe that Askladd wouldn't hesitate to get rid of him if he was causing trouble. Is he gonna let them know that he can, in fact, understand them? Oh, yeah, you're all gonna die. That's what I was saying before about the whole axe thing. Yeah. The poor girl that's hiding, though. She's gonna see this. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna affect him either. It's just a continuing cycle, though. She's gonna be another person seeing everyone she loves die. And they'll be buried in the snow really quickly, too. I'm honestly surprised she survived. I was partly expecting her to get caught up in it, too. But now what? No food, no home, just watched everyone she knows be horrifically killed. Probably thinks it's partly her fault with the whole, like, fear of God, thinking she sinned thing. Or maybe it makes her completely reject religion, which could also happen. Um, come again? True. You stealing a ring is not the worst thing that's ever happened. That is disturbing. I don't think seeing that much violence should end with you describing yourself as elated, perhaps. Oh, she survived through the night. Look at you go. Thought maybe hypothermia would get her. Ominous ending, though. I'm not entirely sure where I want to start to pull that apart because part of me wants to talk about the priest and like his kind of quest for finding what love is and the connection with that with Thor's and what he was talking about. And then part of me wants to talk about like the other religious imagery in this. There was a lot of religious imagery and I'm probably not going to do it justice because my knowledge of religion is not personal. I know some of the stories, I have read the Bible, but I don't do the whole going to service thing, so my knowledge is not going to be the same as probably a lot of other people where it's like a huge part of their lives, so I don't know how much I should comment on it, other than there seems to be a lot of differing sides of morality, and that kind of a thing is something that's dealt with a lot in this show. I was just talking about how like everyone seems to be in like a bit of a gray zone when it comes to their morality, and I like that we're getting something of all of these people having a different idea of what is evil, what is love, what is good, what is humane, and that kind of a thing, and how do you be like a good person in the world, and like how do you pick the lesser of two evils and that kind of thing. Like we have the priest who wants to find what love is and understand it, and also wanting to help out, and I think that goes a lot with him hearing Thor say that like a true warrior doesn't need a sword. So we have like Thor's belief that like violence isn't how you solve problems, isn't how you have an impact on people, it isn't what's going to bring you glory, which is like a huge thing that we learned about like all of the younger people in Thor's village really wanted some kind of glory, some kind of name for themselves, and I thought that they would do that by going to war, fighting, that kind of a thing, and Thor saying, no, the way that you're actually going to make a name for yourself and have respect from people is a different kind of bravery. And I like that the priest seems to be incorporating that from someone who like very much didn't want to fight and was kind of lost in what he was going to do and how he was going to impact people, and hearing that I think has sparked something in him as he's kind of reminiscing internally about it. But then we also have like Askladd, who I think in like a weird twisted way, like he has a moral justification for what he did, in that he was like, well, I need to feed my men, and part of that is feeding the prince. The prince is important because he is going to be on the throne, he is part of the authority of this, he's going to get me to what I want. I need to be able to feed these people, and the way to do that is I'm going to have to take it from someone because no one's going to give it to us, so we're going to have to take it. So they're taking all this food from this village, and he's like, well, now all of these people can either starve slowly, probably freeze to death, or killing them won't spare them from that kind of slower suffering. So I feel like in Askeladd's brain, that's his justification, is it's better than letting them starve, but also it's like a whole village of people, and I don't know how to feel about it because I'm like, violence bad, killing people bad. Feel like a lot of religious people agree on that. That seems to be something that pops up in religion quite a lot. But also the whole like, is it better to have let them lived and suffer, or to have them suffer briefly but escape that fate? I don't know, but I think that that's where Askladd is coming from. I've never had to make that kind of decision, so I feel like I would definitely just like let them, well, one, I wouldn't steal. I feel like that's the beginning of this, and we had the whole thing with Anne, I think she was the girl that ended up surviving, her being like stealing is bad and her kind of trying to contemplate that, where she's like, I know that based on the religious upbringing that I have, stealing is bad, stealing is a sin and that kind of a thing, but her feeling towards it is like elation and her wanting to be able to take the things that she wants, and then seeing someone like Askladd do that where he's just taking the food and getting what he wants, what he needs, being like a different way of her kind of picturing the world, especially where she was like, I didn't know that people that evil existed. And I think part of that is maybe a morbid interest, but also like her being like, my sin isn't that bad. There are worse people in the world than what I did. So like there's so many layers. I don't even know if I fully finished a thought because I feel like there was so much from like a theme side of the show of just like us really hitting points of what even is morality and how it's so much more complicated than this is the good, this is the bad. And I feel like there's so much of that in this series because there is a war, there's all these sides and people saying like, you know, the Danes are evil, and then the Danes being like thinking that they're the good people and having brotherhood and that kind of a thing. Every side thinks that they're the good guys and that kind of a thing, and it's really not just a them versus us or good versus evil. It's so much more complicated because each person has their own stuff going on. Everyone is complex in their own way, so there's just lots of ambiguity in the decisions that people are making, but I guess making the decisions that they think are the best in the moment. It's a whole thing. And I think it goes back to Kanat in the last episode saying like, everything I say has weight and I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to do something that's bad, negative. But the truth is he's going to have to. Every decision that he makes, even not talking, has its own ramifications. So there's all of this stuff of, I think, Kanata needing to see what it means to like make decisions and be a leader. And it's not always going to be like the ultimate good in terms of like following what we're all kind of like, yes, this is like morally good and this is what all people should aspire to. And sometimes you're going to fall short a lot of the time, but you're going to have to make the best decision that you think in the moment with the information that you have and make it work. And sometimes that means you have to make some decisions that maybe aren't what you want to do and you wish that there was a better way, but you can't in the moment. It's very, very complicated, and I feel like I can't fully unravel it. Hopefully we will get some more into that and continue with that as the series goes on, but just a lot of little moments in this one. I feel like the show is really starting to gear up now that we've set up a lot of things, so I'm getting more and more invested as I'm just trying to like pull apart the layers of it. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to this next time I post a Vinland Saga reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!